All right, welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys have tuned in. I don't know what episode this is. It's like episode 41, something like that. 42 maybe. When I do it in editing, I'll put it in the description exactly which episode it is. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscription and also hit the notification bell so you'll know when the new video comes out. You won't have to search for it. It'll just pop up. Also hit the thumbs up like button. Check out the description below for any type of merchandise. If you're interested in merchandise, a shirt here, welcome to the land of F, 75 Precinct. Also coffee mugs, hats, things like that. There's also a link to my book, Betrayal in Blue, and the documentary. That's all on Amazon. All right. Before I get into the first story, since the last episode, I put a couple of pictures of my cars up, and I said I was going to put out a video about my cars, the new car I'm purchasing and the car I'm trading in. So I got a lot of questions about that. When's that video coming out? A lot of questions of why am I trading one car for another car? One car was a wonderful car, a great car. Everyone liked it. They didn't like the new car. Some did like it. Some thought it was a good deal. That video will be coming out. I'm still waiting for delivery on the new car. So once the delivery on the new car comes, the car is built. It is sitting somewhere in Michigan after it was built and waiting for transportation down here to Florida. And then once it comes into Florida, I will be able to go in and complete the deal. So when that's done, I will do just a video on the cars and the car meets I attend, things like that. All right, so first story we got. First story we got is about a Rikers Island correction officer. I think I did one story previous about a Rikers Island correction officer. I know there was a couple of stories about correction officers in particular around the country that got in trouble. This officer's name is Ralph Keppler. Back in December of 2016, I think it was December 4th. Yeah, I wrote it down. There it is, December 4th. December 4th, 2016, he committed an assault on his girlfriend's mother. I'm pretty sure he meant to kill her. There was a witness on the scene that started yelling, so he didn't get in the complete, I guess, what he wanted to do. But in the end, it does turn into a murder because the victim was beaten severely about the head. He cracked the skull open, hit her a couple times with the papers say a barbell. It wasn't a barbell. It was like 5 feet long. He wasn't walking around with a barbell. It was a dumbbell, just for the hand weights. He just had the dumbbell without the weights on it, just the bar part of the dumbbell. He cracked her in the head a couple of times with that, split her head wide open. She was completely out of it. No response. When the guy started yelling, the witness actually gave chase, and Kepler started running away. He had a hoodie on. The hood was over his head, all covered up. He got caught on a couple of, I guess it was doorbell cams, or people have security cameras out in front of their house. And he got caught running away with the witness right on top of him. So he does eventually lose the witness. He dumps the little dumbbell handle that he had. That was later recovered with the victim's blood all over it. The victim, once again, if I didn't say it already, was his girlfriend's mother. The reason he did this attack on his girlfriend's mother is he was in a business deal with his girlfriend's mother and his girlfriend's brother. Supposedly the girlfriend's brother was trying to get some type of app going. He was building an app, and Kepler supposedly invested $350,000. I guess the app wasn't moving along fast enough for him, or he wasn't getting a return on his money, and he felt that the money was being misappropriated by the mother. So the mother was not aware of this, but her own daughter, and her daughter was young, was like 18 when she met Kepler, and Kepler was like, I think 23 or 24, and he was a correction officer at Rikers. The daughter moved out of the mother's house. They moved in together, and they purchased a GPS device that they put on the mother's car. So they were tracking the mother. And you'd think a correction officer would know better. Anything you do with electronics is eventually going to come back to haunt you. So the girlfriend purchased a GPS device, I guess from her own accounts, and it was on her computer. They found it on her laptop. They found the purchase there. They found the GPS tracking device on the mother's car. And there was all types of email alerts going to the daughter's email account of every time the mother drove her car, and they were tracking her. So, the mother drove a car from work to the house, to a diner, to whatever, and they tracked it. And so they knew exactly where the mother was going to be. And that night, December 4th, Kepler attacked the mother right in front of her apartment building. She was walking into the vestibule of her apartment. He came on top of her, pounced on her, started beating her with the dumbbell handle. So she went into a coma for 2 years. He was arrested. They almost immediately found him. He was arrested. They had video of him getting into a taxi cab to flee the scene. They have the girlfriend called for the taxi from her own cell phone. So they got her records, his records, taxi records, the GPS records. They had everything on this guy. So he was arrested right away for an assault. Probably lost his job, I'm sure. It doesn't really mention what happened to his job in any of this. 2 years later, the mother passed away after 2 years in a coma. So Kepler eventually pleads guilty to second-degree murder and conspiracy. He gets 22 years to life in prison. The girlfriend was never arrested until the mother actually passed away. Once the mother passed away, she was also arrested, and she ended up pleading guilty to first-degree manslaughter. So that's our dirty cop story, dirty correction officer story this time. So that's basically it. I basically gave you guys everything on that. They both were just recently pled guilty. It was June of 2020. So a little over almost 2 years ago that he pled guilty. And then she pled guilty, I think, September of 2020. All right. Next story we have. Not really a cop story. It's just something that is annoying me and pissing me off. A couple of people wrote me about it. I was already aware of it. CBS is producing a new TV series. Let's see, what could it be called? East New York, it's called, in the fictional 7-4 precinct, not the 7-5. It stars Jimmy Smits. Amanda Warren is a deputy inspector. I don't even know why it's fictional, so deputy inspectors don't really have too much involvement with the precinct. It's usually just the captain. The captain of the precinct is going to be Richard Kind. Jimmy Smits is playing a 3-star chief. But in the trailer for this series called East New York, I'm sure you guys remember from the documentary, the famous line is, "Welcome to East New York. Welcome to the land of fuck." Well, in the trailer of this new series, East New York, Jimmy Smits says, "Welcome to East New York." I'm surprised they didn't steal the whole line. They just took that line. So that's going to be coming out soon. If you guys want to comment on that, if you saw the trailer, put some comments in. Once it comes out, write me about it and tell me what you think about it. Okay, so that's enough of that one. Q&As. We got 2 Q&As. First Q&A was, am I aware of cops that beat the drug test? Okay. I did talk about it before. My partner actually beat a drug test. It's in my book. The full story is in my book, how he beat it, what he came up with, the device he came up with to beat it, because he would have tested positive if he used his own urine at the time, but he came up with a whole device, had clean urine and put in it, took it with him. you want to know more about it, I also talked about it in a past video. So you could either find that video, I don't remember what number it is, or read the book. It's in the book. Other cops have tried to lie their way out of beating the drug test that I'm aware of. It didn't work for them. They went in, they did their surprise drug test, and they weren't as inventive as my partner was. They went in and gave their own urine at the time. So one guy was actually another 7.5 cop that I knew, worked with us at the time. I'm not going to give his name. I don't think he was ever arrested for any corrupt acts, but he was fired for failing the drug test. So what he came up with is, his excuse was he was not aware that his wife was very frightened that he was going to be possibly killed on the job because he worked in a very dangerous precinct. And she would put marijuana in her homemade meatballs, hoping he would fail the drug test, but never told him. So after he tested positive, she told him about it. And that's what he told the police department, why he failed the drug test, that he tested positive for marijuana was because he ate tainted meatballs that his wife purposely made. Didn't work. Excuse didn't work. So he was eventually, I think he was fired. He fought it in the kangaroo court for the police department, and he ended up losing. Another one I'm aware of is a female officer. I did not personally know her. She got randomly called for a drug test. She went in and took the drug test. And I don't really get how she tries to explain it. When she tests positive also for marijuana, her excuse is she was wearing a weave. Now, I don't know if they took her hair test also, but she was wearing a weave, and the human hair that they weaved in is the reason she tested positive. So if you're wearing a weave, and they're testing your hair, wouldn't you tell them, hey, I'm wearing a weave, test from up here, not from the actual weave? So she probably was dirty and just, tried to come up with an excuse. I was wearing a weave, a human hair weave, and obviously it came from somebody who smoked marijuana. Pretty piss poor excuse. And she also ended up getting fired from the job. So those are a couple of stories about people and drug testing. Next question was, what was my first arrest? All right, I don't remember my first arrest in the 7.5, but I do remember my first arrest. For my probationary period, it was on the street, maybe 2 weeks. My probationary period was NSU 14. It was in Bedford-Stuyvesant. Bed-Stuy back at that time, much like East New York, man, it looked like Germany after World War II, bombed out buildings, broken down all over the place, empty lots with bricks and building debris in it. Very dangerous precinct at the time. So I was on the street for about 2 weeks, working in a patrol car with another rookie, had an FTO in the back. Don't want to say the FTO was a little drunk or tipsy, but he wasn't at his best at the time. So there was a call, came out for a burglary, and we drive to the scene. 3 of us get out of the car, myself, my rookie partner, and the FTO who was riding in the back. FTO leans against the car, goes, all right, one of you guys take the front, one of you guys take the back. And I go around the back, and this was like a 6-story apartment building, and was supposed to be coming from, I forgot exactly which floor. It was either the 5th or the 6th floor where the burglary was happening. So I just look up on the fire escape, and here comes Santa Claus coming down the fire escape with a pillowcase, wrapped over his shoulder, filled with, back at that time was VCR and a couple of other electronic items. I think there was an answering machine in there, really, stuff that isn't worth shit today. Coming down the fire escape. So I don't say shit. He just coming down the fire escape. And when he gets to the bottom of the fire escape, I just throw him up against the wall. He drops the Santa Claus sack full of presents that he got himself and cuff him up, put over the radio, Purpose in the back. And they came around back. Really no incident or nothing. And that was my first arrest. So I got a burglary arrest for my first arrest. Took him down to BCB, which is Brooklyn Central Booking. At that time, it was in the 8-4 precinct. It probably still is in the 8-4 precinct. You go down to BCB to process the arrest. It was weird too. I'm not sure if it was the first time I made that arrest or it was maybe my second or third arrest. I go up to BCB and there's an old timer in there, and he's processing his arrest, and I don't really recognize him, but he recognizes me. He's like, Kenny? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, hey, it's Mr. And he tells his last name. It was my Little League coach from when I was like 10 years old. He was a cop, still on the job all these years later. He's like, holy shit, it's time for me to retire. My Little Leaguers are now cops. So that was just an interesting story. It's funny, many years later, when I'm living down in Florida, I became a Little League coach for my kids' team. And one of the kids on his team, many years later, I met him while I was getting a tattoo. He walked in the place he was getting a tattoo. He's a cop down here. So sort of the same situation almost. All right, that's about it. Those are the stories for today. Still waiting on the podcast trailer for On Being a Gangster from Ash. I'm sure that will be coming my way soon. I'll do an episode on that, put that up, and I'll do an interview with Ash. There have been other people with their own podcasts that keep writing me. They want me to interview on their channel. Vlad TV wrote me. They wanted me to do an interview. There's a couple of smaller podcasts that wanted me to interview with them. I really haven't done it. Not that I don't have time. It's just I got my own podcast going, and I don't know. I might do it just because, especially with Vlad TV, it will, if I go on there, it'll blow up my channel. My partner already did it. So with Vlad TV, I really don't like to do another episode of basically it's going to be the same thing, I would imagine. So that's why I had told them no at the time when they asked me. The smaller podcasts I might do just because, they can promote me, I can promote them, and my partner obviously hasn't done it yet, so it won't be like a repetitive episode. But we'll see on that. For the guys who wrote me, I'm not ignoring your messages to me. I'm just thinking over whether I should do it or not. All right, that's enough for this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button for the likes and the subscription. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys coming out to the show and watch. Put down some comments. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.